Well, finals is off. We may as well be wearing black for the funeral of the Essendon Football Club in 2023. Another disappointing week. 15-9-99 to the Swans, 15-11-101. Doesn't really tell the full story of what happened. I feel like, although a close game, we were never in it beyond the first quarter. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I'm joined by a very sick but albeit sexy-voiced Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam.
Oof.
Welcome to the Don Pod.
Woo-hoo. Get around it. Not well today, buddy, but
I'm carrying a bit of a throat thing. I woke up this morning, hence my different tone.
It's fantastic. I'm going to have trouble concentrating. I may actually listen to you today for once. Don't make you laugh? Okay.
Don't make me laugh. That's when the coughing starts.
So I feel like this pod's going to be carried by me, but when Nathan does talk, it'll be worth the wait.
It'll be sharp. Yes. Be pointy.
I like it. I'll reel through some numbers. Goals, Langford 5, Wright 4, Perkins, Menzies, Martin, Hind, Durham and Caldwell 1. Disposals, Merritt 39 and Parrish and Caldwell 27 each. Just an annoying game of football. I think there were so many simple mistakes that were made, simple things, and combined with then issues that maybe aren't so simple but have been plaguing us all year.
Well, parts in the second and third quarter actually reminded me a bit of last year, how the ball got out the back so easily and our defenders seemed to be way too high and all that sort of stuff. It seemed to have crept back.
Yep, agree. And I spent a bit of time last night looking at some numbers and some stats around inside 50 differential. Because it's an area that we just keep seeming to keep having issues with. So last night we were plus 22 inside 50s.
That's ridiculous.
Which, if you're keeping count at home, is 69 to 47. So we've lost a game of football with 69 inside 50s, which is very high. Our inside 50 differential for the season is -5, which is the third worst in the competition. And I'll give you two guesses as to who is 17th and 18th in that.
West Coast and North.
Correct. So just...
but
it continues to be a concern.
Is it the question? So here's my question. Is it, one, the way we go forward? Like, we do seem to bomb it. Like, we just put it on Peter's head and he clearly couldn't mark it last night.
Yep,
or is it the fact that our small forwards do not apply enough pressure or kick goals? I mean, we are missing a guy like Waller, who kicked 30-odd goals in his last good season. Menzies probably kicked, nearly 20? But he's not that side that hunts people and really, and
which I think, to be fair, may have been why they brought JB Jr. back.
Yeah, and I get the reasoning, but he didn't do anything.
Frustrates me too.
Yeah.
I think
then I guess it's another one. I think just another one of the things where you bring him back to do that, and then you give him 3 quarters because he hasn't done it, so we'll take him out.
And his best moment was actually shortly before he got subbed, where he actually did a little bit. I can't remember if he chased or if he just got a nice little possession, but
he got a free kick from a tackle too. So
yeah. To answer your question around what the issue is, I think one, it was the same last week against the Dogs, a little bit less easy, but Pete just can't mark the frigging football. And it was...
He's actually getting under it a lot and trying to mark the ball. Like, the ball's been marked above his head, which makes it very easy to be spoiled, not, that half a metre out in front.
Yeah. And he dropped a chest mark.
Oh, dropped 2. Dropped 1 at the end of the third quarter, I want to say, and then that one in the last quarter too, which probably would have been a great,
And I got to say too, like, pull your head in, crowd. The Bronx cheer when he did take a mark isn't really necessary. I get it.
But I get it.
Frustrating, but just not really necessary.
But I get it. I mean, you watch him drop a lot. Like, you watch him drop some chest marks, and then
the chest marks are the issue.
Yeah, and then you see him take one. You go, well done, buddy. I don't think that's the end of the world. Like,
it's two-pronged.
I'm not booing him.
No, I'm not booing him. Yeah. It's a two-pronged thing in terms of our ability to keep the ball in or score from our forward 50 entries, And then the polar opposite of that is our ability to defend when the ball isn't marked, in particular, because it doesn't feel like we get outmarked in our forward line, in our back line, very often.
Yep.
So it's our ability then to take the ball out of defensive 50, which last week was an issue. I commented to a mate at the time and said, well, every time that ball goes to ground, they score.
Yeah.
And then it was the same last night. Every time the ball went to ground, they were able to find a goal. And it's always that running snap.
Yeah. And there's guys like McGrath who's not there tackling someone, or, Redmond who's not, they're the guys I expect to be doing that. Like, that's part of their, role to be okay. I'm the defensive small forward now, defensive, small defender. I've got to be aware of that, and I've got to be tackling those guys or in front of them in the positions where they want to be, like front and square and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it was incredibly frustrating last night in particular, where we just weren't on our man tight enough. And the amount of times they got hack kicks and their opponent or their teammate, Sydney teammate, our guy's opponent, was just free. And Zerk did it where he just lost his man, and the second he turned his head, the Sydney guy kicked it. I can look at that and go, all right, that was just really shitty timing on your part, Zerk. You were trying to watch your man. McGrath did it as well, where they had that sort of hack kick come in from the side, from the boundary in towards the middle. But he was 4 metres off his opponent to begin with. It's like, well, why? Why are you?
And I think that's losing the balance between that aggression and defensive mindset. Like, they've got a little too aggressive, thinking, oh, well, we might win the ball and I'll be ready to burst.
Yeah.
You've also got to be at that stage. Well, we haven't won the ball. I've got to be ready to defend.
We don't win the ball very often in that scenario at the moment.
No,
so
true.
You've also got to be aware of that.
Statistically, we're very bad at winning ball in clearance.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearance numbers actually last night were very much in our favour. So plus 34 hit outs. And I want shout out to Phillips and Brian.
Oh,
they rucked incredibly well.
I thought Phillips was very good in that last quarter. He took some really important marks.
Yep.
Yeah. And as for Nick Bryan, my boy.
He's officially your boy, yep.
Officially my boy. I'm a big fan of him. He's got the skills.
Yep, they're multiplying. I would have loved, and I'm not going to criticise him, I just say I would have loved him to kick one of the 2 goals. He had the shots, particularly the one from straight in front. But 100%. Again, with the young guys, you're looking for moments, you're looking for things, bits.
And there was a moment down the half-back line where he was under pressure, he got a quick handball, he gave another quick handball away.
And he actually elected to spoil once or twice, which is something actually Sammy Draper could learn a thing or two.
And if I was to put myself into, say, 2 years from now, and Draper and Bryant might even be more of the number one ruckman, and Draper might be a forward. Or those two rucking and forwarding combination, because I saw Bryant take some good marks. He's good in that area. Then you think, okay, we're sorted. Yep. I think that's the future. That's a tick.
Yeah. The ruck was a tick last night in particular, and what we do with it going forward is actually quite interesting, exciting.
Yeah.
We seem to think...
again, he's what, 22?
21, 22, yep. Around that. He's young. So the plus 34 hitouts last night actually translated to plus 13 clearances, which is probably then when you're high... where your high inside 50 numbers come from.
That's right, because a lot of those are going straight down the throat of Parrish and those guys, and they're putting it in forward.
Shallow entries again. I'm a bit over the shallow entries.
And not accurate. Like,
no
offense to Parrish, but he butchers some kicks.
No offense to Parrish. It's becoming more and more of a problem. And when you watch good teams, I try to watch 1 or 2 good teams every week.
Yep.
GWS is my favourite to watch at the moment. That isn't us. When they get the clearance, they're able to either break away from the clearance, just have that overlapping handball. So then they're kicking inside 50 from closer to the edge of the centre square. Or their midfielders have just got a bit of bloody depth in their kick. And they're able to get
some nice kicks,
30 metres out rather than 40. Which, if you get outmarked in that 40 sort of to 50 zone, it's an easy rebound and you're kind of up shit creek.
So are we saying, like, there was a lot of, we could address this, there's a lot of anger towards Parrish and his disposal, and a lot of people saying, he could go.
That's a bit over the top, in my
What do you think? I don't think that's, I mean, I'd love him to hit more targets, 100%, but the fact
he's
that
winning the football.
He's winning the football, and I don't know who else. Like, I'm sure Hobbs could do it in a few more years, but he also butchers the ball a little bit by foot, and he's not like...
Yes, correct.
Merritt's beautiful by foot, but there's not.
Caldwell had 11 clearances. Merritt had 9. Parrish had 6. But the clearance is the first disposal in a chain to clear the ball. So it's not actually Parrish, if Parrish is taking that kick, he's usually received the handball to then kick. So it's not actually clearance numbers that get chipped.
Yeah. I thought Caldwell was very good too last night.
Caldwell was fantastic in the first quarter.
Again, 50 games for the club, so long way to go.
Yeah. I want to... I was frustrated and I'm still annoyed, and I've just watched half of the VFL and I'm now more annoyed.
The slogan, short or tall, is
never been
screaming at us. Like, I was so frustrated with the Laverde Amity matchup.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the defence in general again. So I've kind of had a go at not being on our opponents close enough. You can get away with a metre here and there, sure, but we were a long way off. But the amount of times Zerk Thatcher and Laverde either got sucked up the ground. There was one contest when I think Amadi got out the back. It was one of those.
BZT.
Lav and BZT were outside 50.
Yep.
It's like, guys, I don't care if your man goes out there. Both of you can't get sucked up that far because guess what? We've got. It's a real
concern with the defenders is that they get too far forward.
Yep. And they make poor decisions, and
they're not the most skillful. Either of those are not the most skillful guys. Like when the ball hits the ground, like they're a bit fumbly. Both of those, like they're not great below their knees.
That's more directed at Lav, the decision making. I don't think BZT doesn't put himself in situations where he needs to make good decisions. He recognises maybe that he's not the best kick or the best disposal.
Yeah.
So he finds his teammate. But I think without Ridley there, it put extra pressure on those two. Cox was not.
It was a lot more one-on-ones in the game. Because Ridley didn't float across and influence those ones.
I thought Cox was okay in that role. I thought Cox was good, shit he can't help. Like, he's just a bit small, but he can't. He really needs to go into
the gym and put things down and pick things up again. Like, he's not doing enough of that at all.
We might be. We just haven't.
He's got little chicken arms on him still.
Was he back injury? Is that what kept him out?
He still put things down and pick them
up.
But he was good. I want to give that a tick.
With what he could control.
Yep. Who was he on? McDonald. He only kicked a goal, and I thought, I mean, he's a good young kid. He's not going to get that match up every week. He might have to play on some bigger bodies. But what I thought he did really well is he played them from behind, and he used his height then to spoil it.
And he's got a bit of go gadget arms about him.
Yeah, got a bit of go gadget, and that was his smart move. Like he's like, no, I don't. I'm not going to get side by side and try and outbody him. I'll get flogged there. I'm not going to get caught in front and may look like a fool, like a stepladder. So I'll just go from behind.
Yep.
Use my arms.
Yep, and that's good. So you're playing to your advantage when you recognise that you're not the biggest guy in the world. That's good. When Buddy went off in the first quarter, I think it was very early, I went, oh, thank God. Like, love Buddy, champion of the game, but kills us.
Did he do a calf?
So often. He got tight in the calf. And I hope that's not it for the big bud. Oh, I get your joke now. Oh, yeah. They did show him an awful lot on the bench. My God. Yep.
I didn't see our bench at all. And I saw their bench
I didn't even know we had a bench.
Yeah.
I hope that's not it for the big bud, but I am somewhat relieved we don't have to play against him again.
Yeah.
But I still can't believe how much our defence struggled, given still that he went off. When he went off, I kind of sunk into my chair and went, oh, thank God. Not that you want to wish
if he'd stayed on, we would have been beaten by a lot, I felt, because what that allowed when he went off. Yeah, what that allowed is that they swapped BZT over to Amadi, which was much better. I think he might have kicked one goal, whereas Laverde was getting absolutely flogged on him. And that meant Laverde went and played on like a small, which he was okay with.
Yeah. And there's a bit of, if it's not on social media, did it really happen? If it's not on the internet, did we really talk about it? You talked about Amati and Buddy and their other tool and how much we're going to struggle to defend that when we spoke on Friday. It just... And sure, we might not have had a lot we could do about that, but you still had Baldwin and Wiedemann, who are both, Wiedemann's off one game in defence. Baldwin's been playing solid defence. There was an option there to do something different. And I can respect...
It was still concerning with team selection that...
Yeah, I can respect the decision to say to Cox, right, well, go.
You're shifting across, Which then helped Martin go onto a wing. But then...
We played Jake Kelly on the friggin' wing.
No, that's the one that I will say, hang on, I will now put a flag up on Brad Scott and say that is a bad coaching move. And whoever come up with that has to put their hand up and say, sorry, I don't know football. Because Kelly on the wing or Kelly half forward, get fucked.
He was playing on an opponent, I can't remember who it was now.
Goulden. Who had about 1 billion touches.
Yeah, well, it didn't work in that sense. But it's the same conversation we had last week with Cox and Martin, is that you're taking away... We had... Durham and Martin were our wingers, and we were playing good football.
Yep.
Against Adelaide, against Port Adelaide, even though we lost, was good footy. And it was working for us. It looked nice. Martin was
Explain to me what
All-Australian.
Kelly's ever shown in his football career to be a winger. I mean, put Redmond on the wing.
Yeah,
Keep Kelly down back. But what fucking world do you come from where you think Kelly, who can't make a decision under 5 minutes when he's got the footy, go, hang on, I just have to write a letter first before I kick this fucking ball.
Dearest forwards, I am going to kick it to you in 2 minutes. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think this was on the podcast, so it did actually happen.
I like that.
Laverde, Heppel, and Kelly. In the same team, not a fan.
Nope.
Heppel is in the team.
Heppel was nearly best on ground, I thought.
Yep. He was very good. Who's the other one?
Laverde's too short.
If we had any other big defender, he's not in the side. And Kelly, honestly, I'm not a fan of there either. I think Hind played a weird mix of roles. Yeah. And if you just took Kelly out, had a replacement for Laverde in terms of the height, and played Hind instead, or D'Ambrosio, it's a pretty balanced backline. We're too slow. Yeah. Slow of foot and mind.
Slow of mind.
Decision making. And
then it leaves it to guys like McGrath and Redmond, who the teams then put a bit of effort into.
I'm not enjoying McGrath's game at the moment, and I don't want to harp on too much because he was very good at times during the season, and you've just got to cop it. But yeah, some of the decision making again just really lets him down. You did want to talk about the 3 Cs, and I feel like we've talked about all of them, but I'll give you the opportunity because the way you introduced this to me was fantastic. So, do you want to tell me what the 3 Cs are?
Coaching, Cox, and Kelly. Yes, I know. It's part of the joke, people. So I wanted to raise a flag on the team selection, and again like Snelling. I don't mind. Like Snelling, I thought was okay when he came on. To be honest, he did some good things, but I don't get. Like, I would have thought that's Kelly off. Like, I don't understand why. I guess I understand why it was Davey. He wasn't doing much. But then you're just like for a like, and you're like, well, what do we expect? Something different happen?
Aren't you? Really? I did enjoy Daisy Thomas, and I quite extra speed with
on a bit of pace
coming on. Does he not? He doesn't know football. He doesn't know Essendon, and that's fine.
He's obviously on a bit of speed himself.
Questionable. Right, so that's coaching.
Whereas, the coaching, then the positive is the Cox move. I thought that was a good decision because then he played that role well. And you could say, oh, well, I'll go forward with that for the next 4 weeks of football or 3 weeks of football, whatever's left. I'll go, that's okay. We move forward with that. But then the Kelly one, playing on a wing, you're like, well, far out, mate. Like, that's a bad call. Either you on this, I couldn't work it out. Either we want him in the 22, but we can't find a spot for him, which is a mistake. Or we actually think someone in that coaching box thinks he could play on a wing. He could go forward. He's pretty damaging by foot.
Which is not the answer.
And then you think you watch a guy like Sardis and, you know, even Voss. Like, I don't understand. I thought it would have been more practical when Stringer went out, that Voss comes in. Even without great form in the VFL, at least you're getting a like for a like, and therefore you can keep with the structure. You got another tall sort of, forward who can go in the midfield and, use their big body to crash around a bit.
And there's nothing to lose in that scenario. Like,
no.
Voss was very good at the start of the year.
Got Cox on the mind there, mate.
Yeah, always. And then I think got moved further up the ground in the VFL and lost that goal-kicking part of his game, which when, like a lot of us with VFL, we tend to just look at numbers.
Yeah,
sometimes
because it's shocking to watch the coverage as we weren't today, trying to watch the commentators. I don't know even half the guys.
The commentary was okay. The camera work was what bothered me the most. Anyway,
sorry,
but sometimes you just give a kid a go, and they come in, and if he's playing a stringer role, well, he's playing permanent forward, so he can actually try and do a little bit around the goals.
Yep. Now I can understand why they might not, because they've gone in 2 ruckmen. But last week they went in with 2 ruckmen, and this is another thing that fascinates me too. When you look back at last week, and Bryant had 31% game time, and you see what he does this week, you go, well, that makes no sense at all.
And he had
58
70. This time.
50, okay.
But 29 hit-outs, 2 clearances, 15
I would
disposals.
nearly say he was the better ruckman, but I would argue.
They both
someone
rucked
said
very well.
Yeah, they both rucked very well. I thought around the ground, he's just so good. He's very mobile.
He actually competed. And I think that was my knock on him a little bit before, was that in contests, he looked lost. He looked just shoved, moved, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas he actually, I think maybe through change of his approach, because he wasn't getting stuck in the middle of contests as much. He was actually able to get a little bit of a run and a move and a jump.
Whereas, see, my thoughts would have been, okay, Bryant's going really well. Let's take him out. Let's bring Snelling in for a bit more extra run, throw Kelly back, and then, rotate the back six a bit differently. And then bring Snelling as, and I thought Snelling was okay, but it's Snelling, it's a few guys like that who we need to find a couple of tall defenders, and we need to find some better half forwards.
Correct. Might ask you a broader question on that towards the end.
Positive is we'll get a better draft pick with the rate we're going.
Well, yes, we currently have pick 6 at 13th. Apparently there's a Gold Coast Academy player who means we'll get pick 7. But, which I didn't know until I watched the Brisbane and Gold Coast game yesterday.
That.
Yeah, bizarre weekend of football. Jesus. Let's talk about some positives.
Yep.
Kyle Langford.
Yeah.
Kicked his 40th goal for the season last night. And we've talked about this a little bit, so I won't go too much. But we didn't know what position he was going to play in the team. Yeah,
I'll put my hand up and say I got him wrong.
Well, I wanted him in the side. I wasn't sure where.
I couldn't see where he fit. Like, he couldn't. The wings were getting taken by Durham and Martin.
Yep.
He's not a winger.
Flanker.
No.
I've always liked him half forward, but then it was how do we fit him in there?
Exactly.
Pete went down.
Pete did the right thing for him.
Pete did the right thing and fucked his shoulder. Kicked 5 last night. Is so... I mean, and this is glaringly obvious when Pete was struggling, but he's so assured with his hands.
Yeah.
If he's
good set shot.
If he's got a bloke sticking up his ass and he can just jump and get 2 hands to the footy, he marks it. And that's...
But it's not that too. When the ball hits the ground, he's a threat.
Yeah.
Like, because of his midfield winging role, like he can push your body away, he can scoop it up, he can make good decisions from a pocket and either have the ping or kick it to the right spot.
Yeah. His set shots, as you say, are lovely. Just a simple approach, simple kick, and so valuable when you can have a guy kick 5. Do you kick 5
So that's
straight?
the big tick for the year, is what we found there. Is that
5 straight?
So we found a would you call him a tall forward?
He's 194. That's quite tall.
Yeah, okay, that's tall forward. Yeah. So we've got him and Wright. We're still looking for that third dangerous. I still reckon it might be Draper and Bryant in actually. I could see that maybe even working. Are you okay? You pulled a face.
Oh, no, I was just trying to type surreptitiously and I did all the wrong letters and I just put like 14 N's in Essendon.
Oh, right. I thought you were trying to type the actual word surreptitiously.
No, I wouldn't. I
that'd
wouldn't
be
use
really...
that wouldn't be a written choice for me. It's definitely a verbal.
Let's start with C as well.
Yes, that's one of the C's. Yeah, sure. I was just actually wanted to check what Langford's contract status was, 2026, because he is one that if he was coming out of contract next year, we're going to have this whole pain all over again with free agency and all that. So 2026, he must have signed a long-term deal last year.
Well,
so
on
that's
that,
good.
BZT was talked about during the week, I heard.
Yes, so he is out of contract,
and
he is rumoured to be going to Port. And the way they spoke about it was like it was almost just going to happen.
They might want to talk to the medical team about playing on through a concussion.
Bit of a suspicious one last night with Aliir.
Just to change topics quickly, if anyone saw that head clash, they were clearly concussed, those two guys. I can't believe that one came back on and the other one they're saying had migraine. No, that's fine.
Yep. So, who were we just talking about? Oh, BZT. Yeah, so BZT is out of contract as a non-free agent. And Port are apparently openly looking for a defender, and if you're going to play a money ball kind of situation, I could see why you might chase BZT over someone like Mackay.
Yeah, very good money ball.
I hope we don't lose the guy. I think we had a lot of patience that his redemption arc last year was one of the highlights of the season. There's some question marks this year.
If someone wants to leave, then I don't.
Oh, yeah. If they don't want to play for Essendon, then that's okay.
There's only a short time in football, and you've got to make the money.
Being uncontracted, it's then his duty, I suppose, to make sure we get a deal. That's all he has to do.
Yeah.
He's not trying to have Port Adelaide lowball.
No,
I don't think he's a first-round pick.
No.
If we're talking trades, he's tall and he's a key position player, so maybe
he's a second or third
round.
at best.
Second round, I'd say, just for the key position player.
Yeah, fair enough. The other one I'll talk about as a positive was Heppel again.
Yeah, Hep was
again,
good.
I put my hand up at the start of the year. I thought he was gone.
Even at times during the year.
Yeah, early though. But in the last 10 weeks, he's probably made mistakes. That's true. But I don't think he's certainly, I think he's shown his value to the team. He's a guy that seems to cover a lot of ground, getting back, trying to defend, trying to get his body on the line.
Mm-hmm.
He gets there, he makes good decisions
really well now. And 25 touches, an equal team high 4 tackles, six marks. So that was
and I think he's starting to learn his game down there a bit better.
And if I can find his disposal efficiency, 84%.
Yeah, so
that's
working.
Just quietly.
Mm.
Nick Cox.
Again, Cox.
God, if I could just find him. He had 7 disposals, but he went at 100%. So,
look, I think that experiment works, and I think you persist with that. As I said, for the rest of the year, Cox plays as a tall defender.
Yep. Well, Ridley's not coming back, we don't think. So,
no,
maybe for the last game.
There is no negative aspect of that. Mm-hmm. You get to find out, and maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't.
I want to talk a little bit just with positives about one moment in particular that I think didn't happen enough and isn't happening enough across the board, but was a really nice thing to see. And it's a positive on Darcy Parish, so, that's quite welcome at this point. About 14 minutes left in the second quarter, and we went coast to coast from a Sydney point for Langford's third goal.
Do you remember that one?
I think played on from the goal square, or maybe kicked to Parish. He handballed off to a runner and then laid the shepherd. And that shepherd set everything else up. It meant that the runner could take an extra 5 metres or 10 metres, get the kick, goal. And it was just little shit like that I appreciate when I'm watching, is a player just shepherding, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Not letting his opponent run past him to make the tackle. It's such little shit.
That is one of the things that doesn't seem to happen enough anymore, shepherds. It's like they're too more excited about getting the next handball receive instead of letting the guys got the ball just use it.
It's a little bit of the state of the game, really, isn't it? Like
the other one I'm fascinated by at the moment is the handball over the head. Like it's getting to the. There was one last night where the guy was being tackled and he just handballed it. Handballed it.
Handballed it. Very good.
Handballed it. Probably 10 meters, like back over his head, and I'm like, that's very close to a throw. That used to be a throw.
There's a lot of throws nowadays,
but that used to be a throw if you handballed it.
As long as you're getting your fist to it, it's okay.
I think the umpires were of the theory that it's very easy. You've already got your left hand going that way. If your right hand just touches it, then that's a handball. It's more of a throw.
Look, I think there's a lot of that. I don't think you can.
Well, it's very hard to do it this way. Well, I guess it isn't, but it looks more obvious.
Thought the umpiring was okay. We had a lot of good early, and then Sydney came back in terms of the count. We were up like 9-1 at one point, but I didn't have the same issues with holding the ball that I've had the last couple of weeks, so that's good. Positives, again, it'd be remiss of us not to mention the little goblin, Ben Hobbs.
Oh, yeah.
That's his nickname.
Great game, yeah.
20 touches, 3 tackles, 3 clearances. 3 tackles, that's what I was looking for. So just seemed to break the lines.
Yeah.
And be aggressive and offensive at the same time.
He didn't get caught as many times either.
No, he didn't get... Well, I mean, last week he got like 3 holding the balls against him, only one of which was actually holding the ball. But
I reckon if we got to the end of the year and we sort of reviewed the players and, we have no control over how they play, but just their ability and what they do in games, you'd say there's a core group of midfielders there that's got some talent. You'd say there's some defenders that just we need to find 2 talls.
So it's only key position players,
Yeah. And you'd probably go up the other end and say, well, I think the big problem too is our small forwards. There's no threatening small forward. Like there's no, like a Eddie Betts or who's a current one, or like a Isaac Rankin, like a guy who, teams pack their dacks and say, if he gets on fire, he'll kick 4. Like Menzies will kick 1 or 2, but he's no one.
We were better with Menzies in the side.
100%.
I think he lacks a little bit of polish, but he's at least aggressive and chases and harasses. I think we spoke about this not on the pod, off air, if you will. There's a guy currently, quote unquote, rotting in the Collingwood VFL who obviously we have a very fractured relationship with,
well, we don't
as do most of the opposition fans
We don't like him, let's be honest.
By the name of Jack Ginnivan.
I don't even like the name.
No, Jack's all right. Ginnivan's, yeah, he's fine.
A combination of the two.
Putting aside biases and the ghosts of Anzac Day last year.
I like where you had that.
That's a very handy addition in that forward line. I think you're right. We don't have enough harassing small forwards. It's not a big need at all.
No.
It's like number 3 on the hit list.
Yeah. The tools are more important. Sorry.
But it's hard because he tore us a new one. But there's something to be said for the arrogance and being polarising. The Hayden Ballantyne, Stevie Milne, you get under your opponent's skins and you will get free kicks. He got a lot of shit for the high contact stuff and ended up missing out on like 3,000 high tackles.
Yep. One against us.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That stands out.
Yeah. That's an option. And being that his depth at Collingwood, he's not good. He wouldn't cost us the earth.
No. It's interesting if he doesn't play, with now them having a loss if they review their sort of team.
Well, Bobby Hill was there.
Yeah, Bobby
was
Hill.
Their small forward, but he was out against Carlton this week.
Yeah, and they didn't replace him.
They didn't bring Ginnivan in. So,
and yet then they brought Howe up forward in that last sort of quarter a bit to try and...
It would be interesting to see what happens with him the rest of the year.
That's their issue.
It is their issue.
But I do think with our small forwards is that there's no real threatening... since Waller, and Waller's still playing, obviously, but not up to the standard. Since that season when he's kicked like 30 or 40 in a couple of years in a row, that we don't... And I think Menzies on a good track, but...
Well, I think Menzies not really...
I don't see Davey kicking 30 or 40 goals for a while. Like,
no.
He's probably 2 or 3 years off it. Guelphy can't... It's not the style. It's not the role.
Shape.
Yeah, it's not the way he plays.
I don't mind...
Yeah.
I've said it before. I don't mind Hind as the option in the interim as a small forward, just because he's got a bit of goal sense. He's quick. He can chase. He can harass.
Yeah.
He's not really strong. That was the benefit of Waller.
Yeah.
Is he's strong and he can actually make the tackle. And I think that's an issue across the board still, is that we can't hold on to friggin' tackles.
Exactly. And even in the VFL game, I was watching that and I saw this 17-year-old kid kick a goal. I don't know if you saw that from the boundary line. He pushed away one of he's only 18 or 19-year-olds, but he just broke the tackle. And I'm like, oh, God, he's only 17.
I will say, in defence of the VFL side currently, there's not a lot of AFL players left in that VFL side.
But still.
Hobbs was great. Caldwell was great. I say great. He's a team loosely we lost.
Merritt was obviously...
Merritt was Merritt. He was back to his brilliant best. And Peter Wright, for all the shit, kicked 4 goals.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of...
Could have kicked 14.
I think it's just a bit of consistency. He's missed a lot of footy.
He was a shoulder injury as well.
Yeah, he hasn't got back into that, where to mark the footy and get the confidence back up. And to be honest, I'm not worried. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating. Like you watch it and you think, you should take that.
We know how good he is.
You should take that. Yeah, that's all you're sort of thinking is.
And it was tight. And this is the problem with the pack mark situation, is it was, 7 or 8, 9 times last week, and it was the same again this week. And you think, you don't have to mark every single one. Of course not. But when you're getting first hands to it that often, 1 in 4 or 1 in 3, you should be clunking there, Pete.
The other issue I thought there was a little bit was that Langford got into his space a few times and and it could go either way, I'm not sure. But Langford took Peter Wright's space, I thought. And that's something, again, they wouldn't have they played 5 games together, wouldn't they? In that role.
In those roles. Well, they haven't played much at all. Yeah.
But as 2 forwards, they got to that takes time to work out where you like to lead to and how you like, do all that sort of stuff. So,
which is quite often a problem anyway for us when we have smalls compete.
I feel like we're being too positive for a game that I was really frustrated by.
I was frustrated with the defence. I'd sent you a message, I think, at half-time or three-quarter time. Midfield, 2 ticks, because they were actually okay, including the ruckman in that. Forward line was 1 tick because Pete's got some issues, obviously, but other than that, they were functioning fairly well, just maybe not keeping the ball in.
Yeah, they couldn't keep the ball in. It was frustrating.
And then defence was like 17 crosses. I'm just so sick of...
Well, the ball
we don't
over
have
the back
the cattle
kills me.
Is half the issue here. But the amount of times... And you watch how Sydney defended their back 50. The ball would generally come down to the back. They'd have 3 players push out to the one side and they'd get handball, and they're free. They're off. That's it. There was no pressure on those players at all because all of our little forwards get sucked to the ball.
Yep.
Whereas
So that's a bit of defensive attitude from our forwards and our defenders.
Well, maybe
our
just
defenders just. I think I agree with the problem with our defenders is that they're not skillful enough to play some of the things they try and do.
which is glaringly obvious when you see when there's no Ridley,
Yeah,
who
exactly.
is the skillful one by foot in particular. Heppel's skillful; he can kick. He's just not quick.
No, and Laverde doesn't. He's not.
Oh, Lav's just.
Lav gets killed by anyone taller. And the thing is with Adamati, he's not that much taller. Like, he's just got a massive leap on him. Like, he's centimeters wise, he's only 3 centimeters taller, but he'd have a really good leap on him. And he looked
he's
like
strong.
I was going to say he had several kilos of strength on him.
Now, I put a post on the Facebook today, the Don Pot, if you're not on it, asking for your take. But this time, I've offered a reward.
Oh, can I win it?
No, not now, because I'm about to read them out. Drop us your comment and best comment as judged by you. I've got a list. You will judge the best comment this week. Yes, you, Nathan.
As in me?
Yes, you. Sorry, that's co-host Nathan.
Yeah. When you said you couldn't mean people out in listening land.
Will win a $20 Bomber Shop voucher, which, it's coming up to the end of the season. There'll be sales. It might go a long way. It might not, but hey, $20 is $20.
Who cares? This is what we're offering people.
That's exactly right. So I'll go through a couple of comments if you like.
Go. I'll have to make some notes or something.
Just your brain's fine.
This is official now.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Matthew Hodge.
Matty.
If it's all part of the build, when do we get to move in? I quite like that.
That's humour. I like that. That's a tick. Matty, tick.
Gaz Collier, we need a defensive midfielder so bad. They need to get Setterfield back in the side. I keep feeling that man exists. Everyone keeps having to go at Parrish. Yes, his disposal wasn't great, but you can see he's working his ass off.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fair enough. His disposal, hang on, so he's working his ass off on one, and his disposals. Oh, working his ass off on his disposal, and 2, his defensive side of the game. Thank you. I got there in the end.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Gaz,
there, Gaz. That was that was my fault. Where I put the line in down to the next line. Valerie, not enough talking out there. Just bomb it into the forward line. Need to be at the bottom of the pack. It's called roving. There's no punctuation that whatsoever, so I'm struggling to read it. My apologies.
I understand what you're saying there, Val. It just put it long, and the problem is that our smalls are not swooping in, and
swooping.
Like if Menzies kick 4, or there'd been a like Menzies 2, Guelphy 2, and Davey 2, then you're like, yeah, that's working. But Menzies had 1, didn't he? And that was that late one.
We are bombing a lot, and I don't remember us bombing that much at the start of the year.
And is it pressure up the ground? Is it guys not knowing what they're doing? There's so many other parts of that too. Because is that what they're told to do? Like, just get it into Pete and let the ball hit the ground, let our forwards go to work.
Probably, maybe. I hope not, because that's very basic. This one I've left the name off because I only snipped part of the comment. So if this is you, I'll go back and find it. Should you be the winner?
I hope this is the winner.
Shout out to Nick Hind for being the pace back in the game. Bringing the pace back into the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Nick Cox for playing defence and doing it well for his second game back. Ben Hobbs being an absolute star this season and a bull. Zach Merritt for being, once again, bringing the effort and showing the boys, with the Z, boys, what a captain is. Dyson Heppel for embracing his new role and playing like he's 10 years younger. That's a bit of a stretch, but I like it. And finally, Phillips, who has been holding down a ruck while Draper's been injured. For a big man in his 30s, he's showed so much effort he showed so much effort week in, week out.
Yep.
And then he has a little bit of a dig at Peter Wright, should take note. And then I think, generally speaking, the second efforts he puts in is what we need out of our players.
Yeah, I like that one.
Ed Chef. Ed. Defence is terrible. No one manning up. Everyone jumping for the ball and leaving opponents unmarked. Too many goals from turnover. That's the game in a nutshell, really. Very succinct. I like it. If that was the pod, we'd be done in 3 seconds.
What was sex like?
Whoa. Now he's got Cox on the mind.
That's one.
Phil?
I think they're all accurate comments. And,
I got 3 more.
Oh, shit. I thought you said 5. All right.
I did not say 5.
Okay, keep going.
I'll rewatch, but I don't think I said 5. Phil, our mate Phil. Feel like our game plan has regressed since Pete has found his way back into the team.
Ooh.
I know we're the Bombers, but that's not how you deliver the ball inside 50.
Oh, nice one, Phil.
I did hear the VFL commentary say something about a squadron of Bombers. That was Not one I've heard before, but,
Since the 40s.
Well, yeah. Apart from the turnovers and lack of polish that goes with them, I felt like we should have won that game. The eye test had us out in front. Oh, I don't agree with that there, Phil.
No, I don't agree with that. I thought
we were very fortunate.
And I thought the fact that Buddy went off and then Rampy was off in that last quarter probably allowed us to get back into the game.
Rampy in particular.
Yeah, and if Buddy had stayed on, the matchups would have not worked. Armady could have kicked 10 at the rate he was going. So, yeah.
He suggests that we get Josh Kennedy from West Coast to be our forward line coach, as Peter Wright needs to learn how to get some separation from his opponent. And then how good was Brian's game? And then he gives his votes. I'm not going to tell you his votes just yet. I'll come back to that when we do our votes.
Interesting.
Shannon Ryan, unable to or unwilling to put any pressure in the forward line once the ball hits the ground. Really hard to watch that. Season over, a few injuries, and it's just gotten a bit long for us. I think there's a little bit to be said for that. I think we're fading as we might have expected us to. It's difficult to watch, but I think it's not totally unexpected.
No, I mean, we sort of half called it, but I didn't expect it to be this bad.
It's dramatic.
Like the last week against Doggies and the week before, they were bad. This one is fine. Like, to walk away with 2 points, you go, ah.
Yeah. And against Sydney, who have actually got their players back. And
if you take away the fact they're 15th or whatever, or 13th now, or whatever they've popped up,
which is a bit misleading in itself.
Yeah, they were last year's premiership, grand finals.
Runners up.
Yeah.
Last comment.
Yep.
Peter James, we've lost our toughness and ambition to take on the risky kick. Too many times leads were ignored inside 50, which left the inevitable decision just to bomb it to the top of the square.
Yep.
We're missing Draper and Setterfield badly, as it's affecting the quality of both Merritt and especially Parrish. I just add words for the sake of it then.
That's fair enough. I think, again, great comment. I agree that, and you forget sometimes, like, Draper's been out for so many weeks, and Setterfield's someone I keep forgetting about. Oh, yeah, Setterfield. I feel like Stewart played today, and I thought, well, there's somebody at least who's tall who could come in and play a role.
Forward.
Yeah, and then I saw he was playing forward. I went, now I'm really confused. I don't understand this team at all. I do, and I want to raise this as a flag, Sam. I am a little concerned about the coaching decisions, and I'll be very interested. Yeah, I'm with 3 C's. I'm very interested about ins and outs again this week, because I don't think you can't do that Kelly thing again.
No, don't get too far ahead of me.
Yep, sorry.
We'll come to that. Can I have a winning comment, please?
It was the one after Val, who didn't have a name.
The one who didn't have a name. That means I'm going to have to go and look for it now. It won't take me long.
All day. You
Don't
were going
stress.
to pick that one, didn't you?
As soon as I said they didn't have a name. While I'm doing that, why don't you give the good people your votes?
Hang on. I just have to go back a page because I wrote it down and then I flicked the page. Sorry. 3 to Merritt. He just keeps soldiering on. 2 to Heppel. He's really played, and it's the courage the way he plays too. And 1 to Langford for 5 goals. I mean, that's pretty decent little effort. I really want to mention Nick Cox and Brian and Phillips as guys that really game, and Hobbs and Caldwell as other guys that could have been in there, but weren't. Basically,
succinct. I like it.
That's how it works.
I also go 3 to Merritt. I think 39 touches and just bossing the world as he does. Yeah. I gave 2 to Langford. Yeah. I think 5 goals nowadays is
that's pretty good footy.
Pretty high numbers. And I gave 1 to Caldwell, which is no disrespect to Heppel or anyone else. I just thought his clearance game in particular, and especially in the first quarter,
he was really, really good.
He's no reason to get excited.
Yep.
So the winner of that comment, and I'm going to have to spell it because it's not a name, I don't think.
Okay.
BNY Mac MC. Like BNY MC, 2 words. So if that's you and you're listening, message us on Facebook, please. And
boys, no.
It looks like Bernie Mac or something like that, but it's just left out the vowels. Maybe, or Benny Mac.
Benny Mac? Yeah, possibly. I like that. Let's go with Benny. We'll call him Benny Mac.
We'll call him Benny Mac, righto. Get in touch
with
Benny
Mac, get in touch.
And we'll hook you up with a voucher.
Oh, that's better.
It was, dots. There's ellipses there.
The voucher part's important, not we'll hook you up.
We'll hook you up, yep.
That seems like we're drug dealers.
Speak for yourself. Right, next week we have the bye in the West Coast Eagles.
No, don't you fucking even say it.
Far out. I'm glad I stopped watching the VFL. So we have West Coast who play
be at the game, Sam.
North Melbourne later on this afternoon. Nathan will be at the game, so line up for your signatures. Just look for the glaring white beard. and I won't be there.
No,
which is weird. He'll be at a game I'm not.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
It'd be nice for you to finally go. You'll be able to give you'll be able to give the in-game insights.
Yeah, we tell you who ran. I'm a bit nervous about it. I'm also nervous about the game the week after with North Melbourne because
yeah. I think you're always nervous going against the bad of the bad, and they are bad. West Coast. In terms of forced changes, I don't believe there's any forced.
No, I don't think there were any injuries that I saw.
We're currently 75 points down to the Sydney Swans reserve side early in the fourth quarter.
Who had 2 wins before they played us.
Who do seem to have a freaking ginormous team, though, it has to be said.
I think they had 3 ruckmen playing.
Yes, big boys. In terms of the numbers at present, Wanganeen's kicked 2, Waller's kicked 2 points.
And I'll be honest,
Sardis
I would
had
like to see
19 touches.
I'd like to see Wanganeen instead of Davey if they're making that pick next time.
Yeah. Sardis Watch, 19 touches at the moment, 5 tackles.
He's not getting a game next week.
Wiedemann, 19 touches and 6 marks. And I mean, that's Baldwin's had 16 touches. That's only because they're both playing defence and the ball is living.
Yeah, in there.
Down there. And we mentioned Stewart, who was playing forward, which I think is odd. I would have thought he'd come back as a defender.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Anyway, D'Ambrosio's had 6 touches.
He's off with an injury.
Oh, he got him off, did he? Okay.
Yeah, he did a calf. No, not a calf, a thigh.
I mean, not good that he's injured, but that's very low numbers. I would.
Yeah, but he's not an option next week.
Yep. We talked briefly before we hit record on Mankara.
Love him.
We look for moments sometimes with players like this, and he had a beautiful moment before halftime where he just swooped in a pack of 3 of them, picked up the ball ever so cleanly, and was able to get a disposal away. I think he might have kicked a point, actually. Mm-hmm. Gorgeous. It was a lovely little pickup. He's silky as.
To pick it up like that in crowd, it was just beautiful.
As a first-year player.
There you go. Ooh, yeah.
Yep.
Have that.
Yep. That's my reaction.
Yep.
So, even though we lost, I don't really have any glaring changes.
Yes, I do. Kelly can't play.
Well, no, but Kelly's changed position maybe more so than...
Yeah, but he can't play that. He can't play that winger.
He's not a winger. And
that can't be... We can't go into that 2 weeks in a row. They can't walk away from it and go, yeah, that worked.
No, but he can just go back into the back line. That's...
But then that's going to push Hind, because I think what worked there is that I think that by having that Hind and Redmond and McGrath and those guys play there, and then why wouldn't a McGrath go onto the wing? Anyway,
they might have been looking for size. I would not be opposed to Hind out and then back as the sub. Just from a balance point of view, not anything against Hind. And as I said earlier, I don't like Lav, Heppel and Kelly all in the same back line, but I don't think they're going to change that. I really don't.
They're not going to change it because West Coast don't have an overly tall forward line like that.
Oscar Allen, who did actually play quite well.
Yep, but that'll be BZT's job.
Mm-hmm.
It might even be Cox. He might, he's got the long arms.
Oscar's a big boy.
Probably not. I would be taking Kelly out of that team and leaving Snelling as the snub.
Snelling snub, I like it.
Snelling snub, because I think actually he's okay in that role. He came on, gave some good direction. He still can't kick over a jam tin. And I would be looking at a Voss or something like that to come up onto the half forward line and sending someone else to the wing. I'd rather have a proper forward, to be honest. We've got wing options. You could send Caldwell, Hobbs, you could send McGrath, you could send Redmond, you could send anyone to the freaking wing. Kelly would be my last thought.
Let's just go back to Martin and Durham being our bloody wingers, because that was kind of working for us.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's obviously not the flavour of the week now. And this is my concern with Scott, is that he's like, no, these are my 23 I'm picking, and I'm not changing it, no matter anything. I'd rather stick someone out of position.
We have to take a little bit of a grain of salt, because we're 13th on the ladder, which doesn't sound great in isolation. But we're 9 and 10. We're 9 and 10.
Oh, yeah.
And we should really be 11 and 10 come the next 2 weeks. And I do worry about North. I'm not particularly worried about West Coast, but that might come back and haunt me. If this is the intro to next week's pod, well, we're in trouble.
Well,
I'll have a tip for the West Coast game, please.
Oh, Bombers by 40.
Bombers by 107.
Oh my God, I don't know who you are. Really, I don't know who you are. You are drunk on something,
West Coast have lost more players, I believe. Shuey's out.
But
if they, actually want to see happen, I want to see them beat North Melbourne this week, later on this afternoon. So then they've had their win.
Yep, that's what I want to. I'll be backing my little titties out for the West Coast.
They're not little.
No, they're not little. Sorry,
yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's a chance for us to just try some things. We said last week to start playing the kids. Now it's...
A quick question.
Really on this artist.
Wasn't Harley Reid meant to play for us in the VFL team?
Next week.
Oh, next week.
I Googled it because I thought the same thing. But yeah.
I was looking for him. I was like, where is he?
It's next week against Southport, I believe, who are actually quite good. So good luck, Harley.
Sorry. Apologise to you now.
It is Southport who... oh, no, they're 14th. Must have been good last year because I remember them being up there. Anyway, so that's Saturday, 11:35 at Fankhauser Reserve, wherever the friggin' hell that is. I think that must be in Queensland because, yes, it is. So never mind. He'll be playing for the Essendon VFL, so watch it on TV if you can because kid's going to be good.
I'll send my brother-in-law to go watch. He lives up there.
Yeah, sure. On that note, if there's nothing else for you to...
No.
Your voice has done remarkably well.
I've done a bit of coughing in the background.
You have, but you've hidden it well. It's been good. It seems to have gotten less deep as we've gone on.
I've got higher and excited.
Yeah. It's not like you.
Go back down low.
Yeah, that's better. We've been talking about getting some sort of voice like that to do an introduction. You know, like, welcome to the John Pod. The guy that does the Fox Footy voice.
Maybe he's got a cold all the time. Hello, welcome to the John Pod.
Lucky Hilm. I think it is Hilm. We're too chicken to ask. So Nathan might be a good option there.
I'll do a recording after this. Let's wrap it up.
Yep. Righto. Thanks for listening. Next week is a Sunday game. So is it Sunday? No, Saturday afternoon.
No, Saturday afternoon.
Apologies. So maybe a Sunday pod. Great. Cool.
Sunday pod, yeah.
We'll be on then. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. And still, go Dons.
Go Bombers.